Good morning, everyone, and welcome in across the continent and beyond for another exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. If you're joining us for the first time today, like quite a few of you are, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And you're catching us in a very exciting day. I've got to say, we wrap up today live at the Rubin Observatory in Chile. We have an earthquake geologist in the middle talking about world-shaking excitement in science, and we are beginning today talking about a Butterflies Day at Disney. If there's a better encapsulation of what we're about as an organization, I don't know what it is, so it's such a thrill to have you all. Now, before I welcome in Morgan, I want to note we do have a Kahoot today. So between our talk and our Q&A, if you want to play along with a little 4-question quiz to test your understanding, have some fun, you can pull up that game pin to do that, an extra way to keep it nice and interactive. Now, as I said, we are going to talk together about a Butterflies Day at Disney. This is a program we've done before. The amazing folks at Disney Animal Science, Environment, Conservation, and beyond help work to save one of the coolest creatures on planet Earth, which is the monarch butterfly. So today, we are joined by educator extraordinaire Morgan to talk about these incredible creatures and the work that Disney is doing to understand and protect them. So, without further ado, I'm going to zip it. Morgan, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us, and take us away.
Hi. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. This is such a fun thing. I used to be a school teacher, so it's always super fun when I can come back and talk to students. It's always so exciting, and I'm so excited for the questions because that's always my favorite part. So get your thinking caps on. Get ready to stump me with some good questions. But I am over here at Walt Disney World. So I'm all the way down in Florida. Maybe you guys have been here before. Maybe some of you have. But my job here at Disney is to study all of the wild animals that come use Walt Disney World space. So for me specifically, I study pollinators. So those are all of mostly insects that visit flowers and help make all the fruits and vegetables that we love to eat. And I really specifically study butterflies, and that being the monarch butterfly. Before I jump into that, I kind of want to talk about Disney for a little bit. A lot of times people think that Walt Disney World is this amazing place and we have all of these wonderful movies and these theme parks, and all of those things are true. But Walt Disney way long ago actually kind of baked in this idea of conservation from the very start. So thinking about how we protect animals for years and years to come. So if you watch any of our movies or come visit our parks, you can kind of see that idea spread throughout. One that I always like to talk about is Finding Nemo, right? It's a really popular movie that I love so much, but there's a lot of animals in that movie, and we talk about how we can protect the ocean in that movie. So this idea of conservation has always been a part of our company, and it's really exciting for me to get to work for such a cool place and also get to help protect all the animals that I care about. But that butterfly that I mentioned and that Jesse mentioned is the monarch butterfly. You guys have probably seen this butterfly before. It's super famous, one of the most famous butterflies there is. And it's this beautiful, big orange butterfly. Both the males and females look like this. But I'll give you a secret. The males have those 2 little dots that you can see right there. So you can impress someone. If you go outside and you see this butterfly, you can know if it's a male or a female. But it's this beautiful butterfly that's found pretty much all over North America. So there's a good chance, and I'll show you a map in a little bit, but there's a good chance that you probably have this butterfly wherever you are right now. So the things that I'm trying to study with this butterfly as a entomologist is the fancy word for someone who studies bugs. But I'm trying to answer 2 questions, and my team is trying to help us answer 2 questions. And that first one is what does the butterfly life cycle look like here at Walt Disney World and here in Florida? So if you know anything about butterflies, they go through this really cool life cycle where it's called metamorphosis, and they change over time. And you can see some real pictures here of the butterfly and also some fun little images on the screen as well. But you start out with the egg. So the adult butterfly lays an egg, and it's really teeny tiny. It's really hard to see. So if you're ever outside and you're looking on some flowers, if you're looking on a plant called milkweed, which is where they like to lay their eggs, you might be able to find it, but you got to look really closely. I always use this thing right here. It's a little magnifying glass, but you look really close. Oh, here, I'll show you. Really teeny tiny little microscopes. You can get really up close into the flowers, but you look for those eggs. And then after an egg, it'll spend a few days as an egg, maybe up to a week or so. And then it'll turn into a caterpillar. And the caterpillars go through a bunch, they grow really, really, really fast because they're eating a bunch of milkweed. And we have this little cheat sheet here where I work to measure the caterpillars. So they can be really, really teeny tiny. That one's so tiny you can almost not see it, or really, really big and chunky. And then once they get to this size, they do the next thing, which is turn into a chrysalis. So you can see that there, that green kind of inch long thing that's hanging from that plant right there. That's the chrysalid. And they do a really weird thing. They go into this chrysalid as a caterpillar, and then they essentially turn to goo inside. And then they reform into an adult butterfly that you can see on the bottom there. This is the coolest thing. It almost seems like magic to me, but it's really impressive. And then they turn into that adult butterfly, and the whole life cycle starts all over again. So here at Disney, we're trying to see, well, how many adult monarch butterflies do we have? How many eggs do we have? How many caterpillars do we have? So that looks like a lot of people spending their days out in and around all of the gardens here at Walt Disney World. So on the left there, you can see one of the people on our team, and they're going out to that garden and they're doing what I just talked about. They're looking for all the eggs. They're looking for all of the caterpillars and all of the adult butterflies. And they essentially are taking notes. One of the most important things we can do in science is record all of the stuff that we do and take a bunch of data. So that's what she's doing on the left there. And she's looking for things like in that second photo there, an adult butterfly. You can see that it's just emerged from that chrysalis we talked about. So she's going to record that. And then sometimes we can get our hands on those butterflies, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But in that third photo there, one of our teammates is actually taking the butterfly, and they're taking a little sample of the scales. So the scales are how we get a butterfly's color, and they're taking a little sample of it to test and see how healthy that butterfly is. Does it have any diseases? Does it have anything wrong with it? We put it under a microscope and we can see. And then that last photo there is an adult monarch butterfly, but it's got a little sticker tag on it. And that little tag is how we tell who that butterfly is. So it's essentially just like a name tag, right? My name tag says Morgan. This one would have a number on it, so we know who that butterfly is, right? If we see that butterfly again, we can go, oh, that's butterfly 742. We saw that butterfly last week at Disney's Animal Kingdom. This week it's over at Epcot. It flew this far. That's how we learned about the monarch migration. So I'll talk about that in a second, but these monarch butterflies fly really, really far every single year. And this is how we learned originally that they flew really far, because one butterfly with a sticker tag, maybe up in Canada, made its way all the way down to Mexico. And we went, wow, that butterfly flew 3,000 miles. So a lot of the work that we do is going out and recording how our butterflies are moving like this. And then the second question we're trying to answer, in addition to, how many butterflies we have here, is where are they going? How are they using Walt Disney World? Do they like to spend all of their time in the gardens at one of our theme parks? Do they like to spend all of their time somewhere else? How do they get from one way or to another, right? Because they can make all of these choices about where do they want to go? How do they want to spend their day, right? If all of you guys came to Walt Disney World, you would probably do very, very different things when you're here, because one of you might want to go ride Big Thunder Mountain. Someone else might want to go see the Finding Nemo show. And our butterflies are doing the same thing. They're making a bunch of choices, right? And so we're trying to answer how they move. But like I mentioned, our monarch butterflies do this thing called a migration. So they move during times of the year from one place to another. So if you look at this map and you can see maybe where you are, I know a lot of our Canada friends, it kind of cuts you off there at the top, but our butterflies make it all the way up there. And so once a year, when it starts to get a little bit colder, you can see if you follow those arrows, they fly all the way down into Mexico, and they stay down there for a few months until it gets warmer again, and they fly all the way back. So if you look at Florida, where I am, there's a big question mark. And that's because we're not really sure what's going on here in Florida. Our monarch butterflies do things a little bit differently. So that's what we're trying to figure out. Why are our butterflies acting differently here in Florida than they are elsewhere? We want to study how they're moving. And so we do that in a really, really cool way. I wanted to throw in this photo too, to show you what it looks like down in Mexico, where all those butterflies hang out. Here, we might only see a few butterflies at a time, but down there, when they're all together, there's millions and millions of butterflies in one place. I've never seen it in person, but I've heard it's absolutely spectacular. So I hope I get there one day, but it's really magical. But then once we have those butterflies, we can put a little teeny tiny tracking device on them. So if you look at that photo there on the right, you'll see that on the back of this butterfly, it has this little teeny tiny device, and we call it a monarch butterfly backpack. But essentially, it tells us where that butterfly is going at all times. It's a little solar panel, so it gets its energy from the sun, and it has a little antenna. And that little tag is essentially always yelling its name, saying, here I am, here I am. And when it passes a little antenna, we can go, oh, we've got our butterfly. We know where it is. And so that photo on the left are some of my teammates actually looking on their phones, and they can see where that butterfly is moving at all times. So we can get really cool maps of how the butterflies are moving around Walt Disney World. And we can even see when a butterfly moves all the way across the country. So some of our butterflies, some of the butterflies that researchers have tagged with these tags just made it all the way down to Mexico, and they're going to hang out there for a few months, and then we'll be able to see them move back, which is really, really cool. So this technology helps us understand, okay, our butterflies love this one spot. So this is probably an area we should protect. We should make sure there's always flowers in this one area, or this area maybe they don't like as much, and why not? And we can study that and figure out how to protect these butterflies even more than we already are. But I also wanted to mention the fact that we use this type of technology for other animals here at Walt Disney World too. So we're tracking our butterflies, we're helping to make sure the butterflies are around forever, but we're also doing this with other animals. The one on the left there is a type of bird down in the Bahamas, and we're tracking to see where those birds go. This bird's called a Kirtland's warbler. You can see that long antenna sticking off the back right there. And then this in the middle is a sea turtle. Hopefully you guys have seen sea turtles before. They're very, very, very big in compared to monarch butterflies or insects in general. But the same type of technology applies. They get a tracking device on their back and we can see where they go. And then the other one is a crab there on the far right. You can see its tag is shaped a little bit differently, but it does the same thing. And so with our crabs, we don't know where they go for parts of the year. They hide, and we're trying to figure out, well, where do the crabs go? Where are they going? So we're putting a tag on them to see if we can figure out where they're going, so we know how to help protect the areas that they spend most of their time. Same thing with the turtles. When they leave the beach after nesting, we're not quite sure where they go. So this helps us figure it out. And with the birds too, we know that they also migrate just like our butterflies, but we're not quite sure where. And so this information helps us figure out a lot of useful information. And it's a lot of fun to put on the tags. We attach them in all different ways depending on the animal. My favorite fun fact is that for our monarch butterflies, we use eyelash glue. So just like you would attach fake eyelashes if you're putting on makeup on your face, same exact type of glue. It's the best glue we can use for our butterflies. So I think that's very funny. On our birds, we tie them on. They wear them like little backpacks. And on our turtles and our crabs, we use a different type of glue, a stronger glue because they spend more time in water. So pretty cool, right? All right, I think that is all that I have to say. It was a super fast overview of all the work that we get up to, but I know you guys are going to have some really great questions. So I'm excited.
We certainly are. And thank you so much for the deep dive, Morgan. Really, really cool stuff you guys are up to at Animal Science and the Environment. And I can't wait for all our queries. Now, because we're fast, we get a little extra time even for our Kahoot. So we're going to begin with this. Quite a few of you are already signed in. And if you're new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get, and what you win is Morgan and I's everlasting respect. So we're going to bring this up. Some of these we covered. Some of these are totally novel. So I just want to see what you guys think about some really cool stuff, and no worries if you get any of these things wrong. It's just great to play along. And then we're going to head to Miss Peterson, Mrs. Damon's class. We're going to take all your questions. Anyone joining on YouTube, please feel free to start sharing in the chat, and let's get underway with that. Here we go. And you can yell out the answer too. If you don't want to play along in the thing, that is totally fine. Question 1 in 3, 2, 1. I should get a drum. I say drum roll so much that I should actually have one. All right. There are 6,000 species of mammal. We're a mammal. Your dog's a mammal. Your cat's a mammal. Antelope, bats, all that good stuff. How many types of insect are there like our butterfly? Are there 150 kinds? 6,000 kinds like mammals? 10,000, or at least 1 million, just like totally outlandish compared to all the other answers. What do we think? I mean, I will say this. When I went in my backyard as a boy, I found 72 species just in my backyard in Toronto, and a lot of those were insects. And so, yes, at least 1 million is our correct answer. Over 2 million kinds of species on this planet, and well over 1 million of those are bugs like our butterfly. This is why insects are the coolest, is that there's like infinite variety anywhere you go.
Exactly. I have next to me is some common butterflies that we have here in Florida. So these are all butterflies that I can find if I just go outside in my backyard or outside my office. Monarch butterflies up there. But my favorite are these swallowtails in the middle. They're really big compared to the monarch, and they've got those cool tails. So these are just a few.
Yep.
But in Florida, we have hundreds of butterflies. So you're right. There's so many insects. I'm never
I'm
going to
gonna
get
use-
bored.
I love monarchs, but swallowtails are my favorite. And I want to stress, we've talked about this before. I hope you get to the monarch forest. It's one of the great places in the whole world ever. California has one. Mexico has sort of the big ones. And it's one of the most magical things you can see on planet Earth. All right. Bronze Gull has our lead. We go to question 2. Insect numbers worldwide are doing what? Are they increasing, staying the same, going down, or we have no idea? Are there more bugs than there were 30 years ago? Less? The same? Or how do we even know? Ooh, a lot of you thought increasing. So our correct answer is that they are going down. Pretty much universally, the number of animals on this planet are going down. We're having a big impact on our ecosystems, whether that's destroying habitats, whether that's climate change, whether that's overhunting. And so it's why there's so many people like Morgan working to understand and save animals, is that we are causing a big impact on animals around this planet. And so they are going down. That is sad. But the good news is that there's a million Morgans that are doing really cool stuff to make a positive difference. So Rational Gator takes a big lead, being the only one who got that right. All right. The world's largest butterfly. We talked about monarchs. They're about yay big. Is the world's largest butterfly 5 inches, 7 inches, 11 inches, or like 5 feet? Just like flying. That would be cool. I will say, so in the Carboniferous era, as we always are thinking about, they did have 2-foot wide dragonflies. Like they had seagull-sized dragonflies, which totally rocks. But most of you got this right. It is 11 inches. Queen Alexandra's birdwing is like the size of a dinner plate. Do you have one of these? Like in a thing somewhere? Have you seen one?
We do not. I wish. They're massive, though. I would love to see
one ever at a museum in my life, and it is quite an incredible animal.
Yeah.
All right. Rational Gator has a very commanding lead going into our final question. What can you do to help butterflies? What do we think? Can you tell your friends and family what you learned today? Can you buy sustainably sourced products? Can you take action on climate change? Or, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, can you do all of the above? I will say, this is your spoiler, Miss Peterson, Mrs. Damon, our YouTubers. If I have all of the above as an answer in a Kahoot question, it's probably the right answer. Oh, so many of you went to one so quickly, so instinctually, and that is correct. Go tell everyone what Morgan taught you today, and that will help a lot, but the others are correct as well. So all of the above is our correct answer. What does that do for our leaderboard? And then we're heading to Miss Peterson's first. Great job. Mrs. Damon's class. I love how you guys all sprinted for devices when we started that. Well done. Enigmatic Sugar Glider second. And first, almost wire to wire, is Rational Gator. Well, way to go. Thank you so much for playing along. And we're going to dive in with questions. So Miss Peterson's class, one of our MJ Fletcher Elementary crew, if you want to unmute your mic, come on up to the computer. We will begin with you for a great question in a second. Mrs. Damon, same deal. You can unmute your mic. Morgan, I'll start with this. Do you have a favorite part of your job? Is there something that just gets you up in the morning? Because it all sounds pretty fun.
That's a really good question. I love that my job is so different every single day. I love that I get to do lots of things. But genuinely, my favorite part of my job is that I get to do really cool science that helps animals and helps protect the planet, but that I get to tell people about it. I love that I get to do both parts of that, so that I get to do the science and figure out new things and answer all these interesting questions every day. But it really warms my heart, and it really gets me up every single day when I get to think about the fact that I get to, meet guests in the park or do things like this and tell people about the cool stuff they do, so that hopefully they get excited and they ask more questions and that the ball keeps going.
Well, I'm so happy that of all the places you could have shared all your cool stuff, you joined us at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. We appreciate it every single time. All right, Miss Peterson's class, come on up and take us away. Hey, guys. Welcome in, fourth graders. Do we have a question for Morgan?
Any questions?
No.
I have a question. I have a question. What kind of diseases do the monarch butterflies get?
Ooh, that's a really good question. The main one that they get has a really, really long and complicated name with far too many syllables for me to try. But we call it OE for short. And it's a type of parasite that monarchs and their other close relatives get. But it essentially can make them not able to fly as well or fly as long, so it can impact their migration and things like that. But it happens when they're caterpillars. So when they eat some of those spores that are on the milkweed and they ingest it, and it starts replicating in their bodies. But then by the time they're adults, they're not sick with it anymore. It's not infecting them anymore, but that's how they pass it on. So when we take some of those samples of their scales, we can actually put it under a microscope and see if they've got those spores in there. And then we know, oh, they've got the disease. And at this point, they're just passing it along. But it mostly just affects monarchs and some of their relatives. And it's really bad here in Florida because we've got the plant that they spend most of their time on here year round. So all of that can just keep building up on the plant.
So milkweed we're talking about, yes?
Yep.
So in Canada, there are huge plant like that we basically take when you're on the side of a highway. They'll plant milkweed in droves to provide habitat for butterflies. It's one of the big conservation initiatives here. So I love when we get a chance to talk about it. That's a really cool question, Ms. Peterson. Thank you. Mrs. Damon's class, come on in and take us away with our second one. Hey, guys. Hello.
All right, who's coming up?
Come on up.
Did you have a question?
Yes, I did.
Perfect.
Morgan, do you work on any more butterflies than just monarch butterflies, or is it just monarch butterflies?
That is also a really good question. So here in Florida, we have a couple hundred different types of butterflies. Right now, mostly the monarch butterfly. But a really nice thing about working with insects and working with butterflies is most of the time, if you're doing things to protect one of the butterflies, it's helping out all of the rest of them. So right now, mostly the monarch, but we used to do work with a butterfly called the Atala butterfly. It's found in a really small area here in Florida, but their numbers weren't doing very well. They were declining pretty rapidly. And so we were asking questions of why. Well, what's going on? Why are they declining? And it was because the plant that they pair up with, that they have to lay their eggs on, called the Kunti plant, was not really being used anymore. So that butterfly wasn't able to find the plant that it needed to lay its eggs on for the caterpillar to eat. And so what we did here at Disney is we started breeding those butterflies and releasing them back into the wild, and also started helping planting a bunch of that plant. And the butterflies started rebounding. Their numbers came back and they started doing so well that we were like, okay, we don't actually need to keep doing this anymore. The butterflies are doing just fine on their own. And so that's why we were able to start working on a different species of butterfly. But they're a really, really cool butterfly.
They are really cool butterfly. I just looked them up to bring up the name for them.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So nice. Cool question, guys. All right, we got one from YouTube. Putting the tags on them, how long does it take to learn how to do that? Because like me personally, I would not want to be putting a tag on a butterfly. It seems way too dainty and delicate. How do you learn how to do that?
A lot of practice and a lot of time working on fake butterflies. So this, putting the tag on the butterfly takes a lot of skill, and a lot of time working with insects doing other things before kind of working up to the tag piece of it. But it took me, I want to say, at some point you just have to try on a butterfly, and just see how it goes. And I think at this point we've tagged over 50 butterflies with these tags, I want to say. So I'm getting better every single time, but it was probably 3 years of working and handling butterflies before we ever put a tag on them. But now we've got all these, like fancy little tools to measure the butterfly and get the tag on there and get the glue. But it's nerve-wracking every time, no matter how many times I do it. I can't drink coffee on the mornings that I tag butterflies because I want my hands as stiff as possible.
So funny. We find this universally, whether it's bats or butterflies or any kind of creature that people are putting tags on, there's a lot of work that goes into this. So like I've been out in the field with biologists that have been doing this sort of work before. And as a guest, I am never allowed to touch the animal because it's something where you really want a professional, but it's a skill that you can learn. So if you're ever keen, talk to someone like Morgan and see if you can get involved, because it's a pretty cool thing to do. All right. We got one about the furthest distance. Do you have like the greatest a butterfly has ever gone with a tag that you know?
Yeah. So not us, but some other people who have. So in Florida here, most of our butterflies don't do the full migration. They just hang out in and around Florida. But other people who have tagged monarch butterflies with these tags farther north in the country have been recording it. And we have a butterfly that I believe has made it all the way to Mexico at this point from the New Jersey area. So pretty far at this point, and we're really hoping that after the overwinter that we get to see that same butterfly start making its way back. For us here at Disney, we've had a butterfly, I think the most recent one we tagged traveled around 15 miles. So it left Walt Disney World, kind of flew north, hung around, and then came back.
I mean, it's a pretty nice place. Who wouldn't want to stay at Disney? I understand.
It was nice. I really warmed my heart seeing the butterfly left, and then was like, no, actually, Disney's great. I'm gonna come back.
I've got to say for our classes, like this exists in a way that it did not when like Morgan and I were kids. Like you can literally track animals online. So like so many different biology teams around the world are putting trackers on whales, on wolves, on condors, on any kind of creature you can imagine. And to like follow them along on their journey is super cool. We did this about great white sharks not too long ago. Like it's so cool to see where animals go. Sometimes they've got cameras attached to if they're a bigger thing than a butterfly. And it's just one of the most amazing things you can experience as a student. So I can't encourage you enough. All right, back to our live classes. Miss Peterson's class, we're coming back to you for another one. Flick on your mic and you're good to go. Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
One more question. Zoe, you want to say it? Come up here. You want to say your question?
Can I say it?
Yes, you can say it.
How much more butterflies are there left? Like monarch butterflies left? Like how much?
How many more monarch? Can you hear that? Okay.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay.
How many more like numbers or how many other species?
I think numbers, yes. Like how many individual
like how
monarchs
many
are there in the
left?
world? Yeah.
There's a lot. That's a good question because we count the number of monarch butterflies differently in different places. So here where I am on the eastern side of North America, we count our butterflies or monarch butterflies in the number of space that they take up when they're overwintering down in Mexico. And so I think the last number was about a hectare of space. So those butterflies take up a lot. That's probably a couple 100,000 butterflies. So there's still quite a few overwintering down there. And then the other population of monarch butterflies that are over on the west coast of the US, they count those butterflies individually because there's a lot less of them in that population. So we're still waiting for this year's count. A lot of really, really dedicated people go out to these overwintering sites and they individually do their best to count all the butterflies. And we should probably have that soon, but it's a large amount of work that a lot of really, really dedicated volunteers and scientists go do.
Say so. I've got to say, like for our student audience, like even blue whales, like the biggest animal to ever exist ever in the world, we do not know how many there are. Like it's very hard to track something over the course of an ocean. And so imagine with a butterfly where you go to a forest and like the entire tree is covered in butterflies and it's like 5 deep and the canopy's all butterflies. Like how do you count that? Mm-hmm. It's very, very challenging. It's why there's a lot of cool methods on how to do that. So this is a really cool question. And the answer for a lot of creatures is we don't know exactly. So thank you so much for asking that, Zoe. All right, Mrs. Damon, come on in and take us away with another. Hey, guys.
Okay. Hi. All right, go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Alex.
My name is Alex, and I've got 2 questions, but I'm only gonna pick one.
Okay.
Question would be, so where are the most milkweed plants planted?
Yeah, cool question.
That is a really good question, Alex. So there's a lot of different species of milkweed, just like there's different species of butterfly. There are different types of milkweed, and they're largely all over the country. Let's see if I can go, Jesse, can I go back to my map a second?
Yeah, sure.
And I will try to show you. So let's see. Okay. So this map right here, you can see where it says Corn Belt in the middle. That's where a lot of the monarchs like to be. Because there's a lot of different types of milkweed up there and the weather's really nice for the longest amount of time. So you get a lot of monarch butterflies that are coming from this area. So that's where a lot of the milkweed is, but you can find it all over and it looks really different in a lot of different places.
Morgan, elaborate on that before we go back, because there's like a lineup of kids in Miss Damon's class. What do you mean it looks different in a lot of places? Tell me more.
So there's a lot of different species of milkweed. Here in Florida, for example, we have only, I believe, 3 or 4 species of milkweed that are actually native that grow in our area. But there's not a ton of that. And so people often plant a different species of milkweed called tropical milkweed that's here year round because it thrives in this weather. But it's not necessarily the best milkweed for monarch butterflies. But in other places that have different types of climate, they can host a lot more species of milkweed year round. So
cool. How interesting that they land on multiple and that they lay their eggs on multiple as opposed to one species. That's really odd for the animal kingdom.
As
Cool.
long as it's in that genus, they are happy to lay their eggs on it.
Okay.
But sometimes there's some cool science that shows that they're picky. So different milkweed plants, some are like hairier than others. Some have less of the milkweed toxin in them. And so you can actually see through, different research projects that they'll choose kind of, if they have the option, they can be picky. If they've only got one species in front of them, they're like, okay, this is what I have, I'll use it. But if they can choose, they're going to choose some over others.
Really, really cool. Sorry, I love when I learn new science in a broadcast. It doesn't happen every day, so that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Mrs. Damon, since you had a little lineup of kids, if you want to do another one, come on in. You're welcome.
We would love to, but unfortunately we have a half day, so we have to dismiss right now. But thank you so much. They enjoyed it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Amazing. Well, we'll say farewell to everyone. If everyone's got a half day.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Email us more.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. And,
Thank you.
We'll see you later, everyone. Bye to our half day folks. Morgan, before we wrap up for our YouTube audience, and I'll play a little wrap up when we do that, and you can stick around after that. Is there any final message you want to leave us with about monarchs and all the cool stuff you get up to?
Yeah, I think I definitely want to say that, whether it's monarch butterflies or a different type of insect or a different type of animal, like you mentioned, animals across the world and across, all these different taxa are largely declining. But there's so much that we all can do. It doesn't have to be, me, a scientist here at Walt Disney World, doing all of the work. Everything, that individual people can do really, really matters and is really important. So whether it's something that you learned here today that you want to share or a way to take action, in your own life or your own backyard, there's so much you can do. So I encourage you to find a way to help out a species that you care about.
No better message than that. Thank you so much for joining us, Morgan, and for setting us up with the amazing turtle crew that's going to join us in just a few weeks. We're very excited to cover some more Disney stories together. But for now, we'll say farewell. Do stick around after we're done live. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks, audience. You guys.
Bye, everyone.